bus?
Yes, sir.
So from today we're going to start with the data provisioning techniques. When I say data provisioning, we go deal with replicating data from different source into HANA. Let's say till now we just been creating our own table and inserting our data. We've been inserting our data, but now let's say we have a different source which has got data in it. As part of implementing a data warehousing with SAP HANA, you would like to extract the data from different source and bring it into HANA bus. So extraction of data from different source into HANA is what we call it as data provisioning. So we can provision the data into HANA in multiple ways by leveraging BODS or SLT or smart data access, smart data quality and integration, all this, or direct extraction. Now we are focusing on SLT. SLT is one of the data provisioning techniques through which we can replicate data into HANA. So SLT stands for SAP Landscape Transformation, which is actually a replication server to replicate data into HANA bus. SLT stands for SAP Landscape Transformation, which is actually a replication server to replicate data into HANA bus. Let's see how is this positioned. Now look at this. So by using SLT, can we replicate data from SAP or non-SAP also? Okay. So this is how it will be. You will have HANA database. You will have the source systems, whether it is SAP or non-SAP. And you'll have SLT as a middleware server. As middleware, you'll have a replication server, which is SLT, which will basically have three things majorly: read engine, write engine, and transformation and mapping engine. Read engine will read the data from the source, and write engine will write the data into the target. And mapping and transformations will have the capability of knowing which field in the source has to be mapped into which field in the target. Or we can also do some kind of transformations within SLT also. So if you look at the positioning of SLT server, it is actually a separate middleware server or middleware engine which can extract data from SAP or non-SAP sources and load into your HANA target. And this will mainly have three engines: read engine, write engine, and mapping and transformation engine. Read engine will read the data from the source. Write engine will write the data into the HANA database. And with the help of mapping and transformations, say while replicating data from source to the target, you would like to do some transformations to the data, we can achieve that with SLT. So this is important. It can be real time or it can be scheduled also. By using SLT, we can replicate data from SAP or non-SAP source in real time or even in scheduled mode also. And if it is real time, we can also, whether it is real time or scheduled mode, we can also do transformations. If it is real time and we are enable transformations, we can say this is the transformations on fly. When it is replicated in real time, the data is transformed in fly and gives it to you. Okay. Now look at this overall picture. How does it work out? So SLT is also an SAP server. Okay. Now let's say we have HANA database here. We have an SAP source. If it is SAP source, how it will be connected and know what it is. And this will be a SLT server. First point to be noted: SLT is an SAP server, right? To install SLT server, we need to have minimum ABAP stack 7.0 ABAP stack, and kernel should be 7.20. So if I have to install SLT server, minimum I need to install that with ABAP stack is 7.02 and with kernel 7.20. So these two properties must satisfy in order to have your SLT server installed as an SAP server. So once we have this ABAP stack and kernel and have your SLT server installed, your HANA will be installed will install HANA, which will be referred as a target. Let's say any SAP source, it could be ECC, CRM, SM, anything, any SAP suite, any SAP business suite. So if these three are available, let's say I've got SAP source, I've got HANA, and then I've got SLT server installed. In order to configure this, connect them and then start initiating the data loading, your SAP source and SLT will be connected through this RFC connection, the interface. And since HANA is SAP source system and SLT both are SAP servers based on ABAP stack, so they understand RFCs, remote function call. Now when it comes to connecting your SLT server, which is SAP server, and to HANA, which is a database, these two will be integrated with what? DB connection. So I'll connect the SAP source to SLT server through RFC connection. Then I'll have to integrate SLT server to HANA database through DB connections. Once I create the RFC connection to the source to the SLT server, and from SLT server to HANA through DB connection, the configuration is ready, I can start replicating the data from source. So two ways you can replicate. You can basically get into the replication engine, which is in SLT server to start the replication, or even in HANA Studio, SAP has given some data provisioning cockpit or the screen from where you can basically control the replication of tables or replication of data. You can either log into SLT server and start the replication processes, or you can basically within HANA Studio you'll have a cockpit through which you can initiate the data replication process. So this is how, if it is SAP as a source, it will be integrated with SLT. Okay. Now getting into details how it actually works out. If SAP is a source, how does it work out? Very, very important. See, the main concept is when you say replicate the data through SLT, let's say in SAP I already have some table with say some 100 records. So when I say replicate, first it will extract all those 100 records into HANA database through initial load. We can call that as, in BW it's something like init load. Through initial load it actually replicates all the historical data. We call that as full load. Once that is done, from then onwards, whenever there is any change in the table, either it could be creation of new record, or whether that could be a change of an existing record or deletion of a record, all those changes must be replicated in real time. As and when there is a new record created in the table in the source, it must create real time. It must create the record in the HANA database. If you delete a record in the database in the source, it must delete the record in HANA. If it change, it must change. Yeah? So, but how does that handle it? Let's say I have the SLT server here, I have SAP source, and I have HANA database. So once you basically configure the SLT server or SLT configurations through using RFC connections and the DB connection, okay. So how does it actually extract the data for you? So we're discussing that SLT will mainly have the read engine, write engine, and mapping engine. If my source is SAP, it puts the read engine into my source itself, and your SLT will only have the mapping and write modules. Module, like it's a function model which will be written when you configure the SLT server for a table. it automatically creates a read function model in SAP source, which will be read model. It will have write module and mapping in SLT servers. Now concept is, let's say you start some table, you select some table and say replicate. So application table, this is the actual database table, and what it does is, let's say this application table has got 100 records. Your read module will read all the 100 records first and then pushes them to SLT. With the help of mapping and writing, it writes those 100 records back to HANA database. Since you're replicating it, apart from bringing those 100 records to the HANA database, it automatically creates a trigger, DB trigger, database trigger on this table, and it also create a log table. Now purpose of this you'll have a trigger on insert, you'll have a trigger on update, you'll have a trigger on delete on this table. So what does this trigger do? From then on, once the historical records are brought in, from then onwards, whenever there is any change in the record, let's say you created a record, or you changed a record, or you deleted a record, the corresponding triggers are fired out and it collects a log into the log table saying, let's say this is a sales order table. Sales order table, let's say the primary key is like VBLN, sales order number. So the log table will have the main key of the table and say a record with this key has been inserted, or the record of this key has been modified, or record of this key has been deleted. It updates the log table, and you'll have some job, the replication job continuously running in, keep checks for the log table updates. So your read model will check the log table, understand there are some changes. So once it understands there are some changes, it reads data from application table or the log tables and sends the data to SLT server, and write model will do the corresponding reflections to the database. Like this, it is and from then onwards, every time there is a new record or a change of an existing record or a deletion of a record in the application table, your corresponding triggers are fired out and collects the log into the log table, and read model will be regularly checking for the logs, and any logs, it starts extracting the data from application table or the log table depending on the requirement, sends the data to the SLT server, and SLT server will do the mapping or transformations if available, and then writes, when it's writing, it does do the necessary changes to the table in HANA. If it is delete, it will delete the record in HANA. If it is insert of new record, then it inserts new record. If it is update, it updates an existing record. Like this, this is how it works out with the replication of data through SLTs, if it is a SAP system. Now say if it is non-SAP system, non-SAP is my source. Let's say you're replicating from SQL Server database or Oracle database to HANA bus. So since my non-SAP is also a database, we're going to connect that with the DB connection here. We're going to connect that with the DB. HANA is also going to connect with DB connection. Since my non-SAP source is not an ABAP system, your read module will be within SLT server, not in the source. If your source system is SAP, then read module or it as a function module will be put into the SAP server, source SAP source. If the source is non-SAP, then the read module, which is an ABAP based program, will be within SLT server. So the non-SAP source will only have the trigger and the log table, which will be just capturing the logs, and you'll have the read module within the SLT server, which will be checking for the logs in the non-SAP source, and whenever there's any logs, it starts replicating them into HANA databases. Okay, it says multi-system support. We'll come to this point. Now, now let's see the replication process, all this, then we can discuss on it. Okay, boss. So I would like to extract data from ECC and replicate data in through using SLT. So I'm in HANA database. I'm saying help, get to quick view, and I click on data provisioning, select this system. What does it say? Data provisioning is not configured yet. Contact system administrator. So I have an ECC system, I have HANA database, and I need to leverage SLT and create a configuration between all this. Then I can start replicating the data through SLT bus. Now before I create configuration, I want to make sure about this point. So this is my HANA database. I've got ECC, SAP ECC, which is a business suite ERP application. I've got it. Now what I've done is, now let me show you that ECC. This is my ECC application. Let me see this details of this application. When I say status, details, I have ABAP stack 7.4, okay, and I've got basis as 7.4. So if you look at the requirement, minimum ABAP stack should be 7.02 and kernel should be 7.2. But for me in this case, I have an ECC application where ABAP stack is 7.4 and basis is also, kernel is also 7.4. So what is my requirement? What I'm thinking is, actually what we are supposed to do, we have to install one more ABAP system or SAP system, SLT server, which is separate server with ABAP as a minimum 7.2 and kernel, and then install SLT server. So what we are assuming here is, instead of installing a separate server, I already have an ECC with the ABAP stack is 7.4 and basis is 7.4. Why don't we install SLT on top of a ECC itself? Because I have this ABAP application which is satisfying my requirements, and why don't we install SLT within this ECCs? So within ECC, I have installed SLT as a component because it is satisfying my requirements. So you could have any case. I can have SLT installed within the ECC as a sub-component, or SLT can be installed in the separate server also. So for me, instead of reduce the number of, in order to reduce the number of servers to be maintained, I've installed SLT as an add-on within the ECC system because it is already satisfying the ABAP stack and the kernel what I need to install SLTs. So for me, this EHP system, ECC system is both, that is my ECC application as well as that is my SLT server also. Both are there in the same server. You can understand this, okay? Good. But logically, this is how it is installed, but logically let's treat that as a different server. So assume, even though I've installed my SLT server within the ECC, because of it is already satisfying my ABAP stack and kernel, but you treat that as a separate server bus. Logically it is different, but to reduce this number of servers I have installed within the ECS system. So this is how I've got. I've got ECC, I've got SLT, I've got my HANA database. Now I need to create a configuration to have the connection established so that I can start replicating database. We already discussed that if I need to do this, first of all, my SLT server should have an RFC connection to ECC, and then I can use a DB connection towards HANA bus, right? So before I start, now we're focusing on how do I create a configuration. So if it is SAP, how do I start creating the configurations? My first step would be about create RFC. To connect SAP source. See, this is ECC, okay, but SLT is also within the same. So I'm logging into the system, assuming I'm logging into SLT server. So I'm logging into SLT server. Now within the SLT server, I'll have to create an RFC connection to my SAP source. So to create RFC connection, get to SM59, create an ABAP connections. Say RFC to SAP source system. I'll have to give the host, but technically the host is going to be same because for me ECC and my SLT are both same. Yeah? This is my server 71. Okay. And the login details. So my RFC connection is fine. This is my RFC connection. So I have logged into SLT and I've created an RFC connection to my source. Okay. Next. Okay. How to know whether SLT is installed in the same system or not? If you go to system, status, you will see SLT as a DIMS. You see a component called DIMS. Okay. When you see some component called DIMS, this is relevant to your SLTs. So when I see a component called DIMS, it means we have installed SLT on the system. Okay. Okay, boss. So next step is configure SLT configuration. Or it is a create. And for this, within the SLT server, I use a T code LTR. So how do I create? Now I'm in the SLT server. I just created an RFC to my SAP system. Then get to the T code LTR. Okay. It's a browser-based application. So there's been no configuration set. I would like to create a new configuration. Say create new. So you can just give any name for the configuration. But what are the configuration name you given, that is going to form as a schema name in your HANA database. So I'll say 9 cubics SLT, okay, some description. We'll see one, then you'll understand more. So connect to the source. Is my source going to be SAP or non-SAP? Mine is SAP. Now it is going to be asking me for SAP source, what is the RFC connection? This is the one which I just created. I'll come to this. Allow multiple usages means what are the source I'm referring now. I would like to create multiple configurations to extract data from source in SLT. So I'll say multiple usages, okay. Let's not worry on client. I would like to extract data for all the client. I told you SAP will have client dependent tables, so you want to extract data for all the clients. Now this is where you're going to specify the DB connection towards HANA. So HANA, what is the username you would like to use? I would like to use system. The server name, host name is my server name SAP Cubics, and instance is 01. SAP Cubics, instance is 01. We can use SLT to extract data from SAP or non-SAP also, and so all the real-time replication of data will be happening with the jobs. So how many jobs you want, depending on how many background work processes you have, we can specify it. The more the jobs we have, more replication will be faster. Then here I'm saying I want the replication to happen in real time. Just say okay.
Sir, I have a question here, sir. Hello.
One second. I'm just changing the name. It is cannot start with, so I'm saying Z9. Okay. Yeah. Tell me the question. Yeah.
Sir, here you can see the replication options. So this schedule, the job that we are scheduling, is that the real read module job or some other job which is going to trigger the read module?
See, I told you. We can use SLT to replicate data in real time or scheduled also. Okay? If you say real time, it is going to replicate data in real time. As and when there is some new data, your trigger will fire out and capture the logs, and it will be replicating automatically into this HANA database. If that is not, if I say schedule it for say every 300 seconds, for every 5 minutes it actually fires out a job which will start the replication for you. Okay.
I mean, start the replication, okay, sir. That is going to trigger the read module.
Which one? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Read module.
You'll have a job which will trigger the read module and start the applications. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Read module, then from there it will be triggering mapping and also write engine also. Yeah.
Right, sir. Right.
So I'm going with real time and say okay. I change my configuration name Z9 Cubex SLT. Okay. So this is how you create configuration. And for every configuration name, you're going to get one schema with the same name. If I go to my catalogs here, Z9 Cubics SLT is my schema. It automatically creates a schema with that name. When you create a configuration, I never created this before. When you create your SLT configuration, it automatically creates your schema here. And now when I go to data provisioning, select this connection and say finish. See, now it starts showing you this. So as soon as you create a configuration, it starts replication for 3 tables bus: DD02L, 8L, 2T bus. As soon as you start the loading is done, it is restore in process. As soon as you create a configuration, if it is SAP is your source, by default it starts the replication for all these 3 tables. DD02L 2T8L bus. DD02L will have the list of the table. See, what is the importance of these three tables being replicated? For example, let's say I would like to replicate some table. What you do is you just click on this replicate. You start searching for some table here. Say for example, so when I say replicate, in the left hand side it is showing me all the possible tables. So how does HANA know what are the tables available in ECC? So to bring the because of these three tables, HANA is able to know the entire data dictionary about ECC. So what tables do we have and what is not there? Okay. So load means it is bringing historical data. Replicate means it is finished loading. It is ready to replicate if there is any new records into the table. When I say load in process, it is loading the historical data. When I say replicate in process, it has finished loading. It is waiting for new records to be created. If there is any new record, it starts replicating it here. Yeah. We'll have to wait until all these three tables are done. If you don't want to refresh manually, I can say for every 5 seconds auto pause. Okay. So DD02L will have the list of the tables. DD02T will have the description of the tables. DD08L will have information about all the fields in a table. In a particular table, what fields do we have? Yeah. Now I can see those tables in the schema. See, it says this is a source, target schema is so and so, these are the connections. Now expand this. In the tables, I should see those DD02L, 2T, 8L. 8L, it is replicated means it is finished loading. Let's see how many are there. There is an open definition of the table. Runtime information, you can see number of records. So 8,44,726 were the records. DD02L. Runtime information 5,71,000. DD02T. It will have T will have text descriptions in multiple languages, so that could be many. Because they made a description in multiple languages, so 67,20,000 going on. If I just keep refreshing, you should count being going high. Okay. See now 69,50,000. Yeah. No, just wait for me. Let me finish, then you can ask your doubts. If you ask in the middle, now it is 71 lakhs. Keep refreshing, it keeps increasing that count. 71,90,000. 73 lakhs. Okay. Let us see. I think it is done. So it has finished loading even the DD02T also. Now because of these three, as soon as you create a configuration, by default it starts the replication with these three tables: DD02L, DD02T and DD08L. And these three tables are being replicated because to bring the metadata of complete information about the data dictionary in SAP into your HANA database. Any SAP source, these three tables will be replicated, whether it is CRM or ECC, APO, whatever it is. Okay. Now, for now, what I want, so look at this. These three tables now they have finished loading. Now it says replicate in process. It is ready to start the replication of data if there's any new records posted. So when it says in process, continuously there will be some jobs which will be checking for new records in the table. If there's anything it will be bringing in, so then my server will be completely busy with that, right? So I just want to stop these because these are not of my importance. For now, I would like to stop the replication. See, already it has brought in the historical data. So no more new records I'm expecting. So I'm going to stop the replication. So no delta records. I'm going to like stop all these three. Add and say finish. So once I stop replication, there will be no background jobs which will be running in the backend to bring in the new records from these tables, because I'm because I'm feeling that since EC is my system, I know I'm not going to create any new table from now. So when there's no new table, there's no point in replicating these three tables completely, because if there's any new table, if you want to bring in those table information, I can, this replication of these three tables makes sense to bring in the information about new table what is created in ECC. But now I'm not worried about creating new table. So once I stop, my SLT server is a bit freed up because mine is a small server. So now, okay, let's say this is my ECC itself. In ECC, let's say I have some table. I got small table, Z sales. There are 78 records in this table. Okay. So I would like to replicate the data from this table. So what is my requirement? When I say replicate this table, it brings in all the 78 records to my HANA database. And then it has to create a trigger and a log table. We can see the trigger and log table also. Let's see this. First, let me just get in, let me show you one. I'll come to this. You'll have a T code called LTRC, which will show you the complete loading statistics in SLT server. Let's see what does it say. There's no table, nothing, right? So I can initiate the replication process from HANA databases. Now I'll say what? Click on when I say replicate means what? It will bring historical data, and also it will bring the new records what has been posted after the replication. So click on replicate, which table? Z sales, and say search. Now how is this HANA database knows my table name bus? Since the DD02L, DD02T, 8L, all those three tables have been replicated, HANA database has got information about complete metadata dictionary about your ECC. Just add this table and say finish. I already set up the automatic refresh for every 5 seconds. Now I should see it says replication has been scheduled. Yes, you have scheduled the replication. Then it says loading in process. The replication is scheduled. Then it has to start the loading. Okay. See, now it says it has, when I say load executed means it has finished the loading, which is bringing historical data is done. After bringing historical data, it gets into replication mode. It has brought this table and replicated all the data. So loaded all historical data. Now I can see this here in the schema. Z sales. Let's see the open definition. 78 records I should have. 78 records. Okay. And now look at this. It says replicating process. Now it has finished extracting all the historical data through load. Load process is done. It has executed the load operation. Now replicate will always be in process, because every time there's a new record, it has to keep replicating, right? So it will be always in process like this. Now let me go to this. Now let me show you the trigger what has been created. If you want to see the trigger details or data transfer details, you go to the T code LTRC. In LTRC, you can see all the data transfer monitoring statistics, all those. Okay. One important thing, look at this, I'm selecting transfer ID, right? Because for the configuration what we created, the ID is 0. We can, every configuration you create, you'll have a transfer ID called some 3-digit unique number. Mine is 015. So select 0, make sure you select this configuration ID as 015. Get it. See, now it says in the table overview you can see what all tables are being replicated. It says the table name is Z sales. Two important things. One is I told you once it finishes loading, it creates a trigger and log table. For trigger, you can see this saying what? Trigger has been activated. Okay. Then for log table, you can see this table. This is like normal table. I can open this log table in SC11 and see this. This is the log table. Basically, log table will have the primary key field of the table for which you are replicating this. Okay. And it says the trigger has been activated. Can I see the code in the trigger? You can see if you go to expert functions. See, there's something like list generated trigger coding. For which table? Z sales. So you'll have trigger, you'll have insert, update, delete. Now let's see all the three. See, there's been a lot of triggers created. You can see the coding here. Create trigger so and so for what? What is this here? For insert. Create trigger so and so for what? For update. Create trigger so and so for delete. So you can also choose to see one by one. You can see I want to see it for insert. So every time there is a new record been inserted into my Z sales, what it does, it inserts so and so into, it will insert an entry in the log table. This is your log table. You remember 354. So if there's an insert in the new, if there's a new record inserted in Z sales, it inserts an entry in the log table. Like this, you'll have triggers created. Because of this triggers and the log table, it starts replicating the records when I post new entries. Now let me go to SC11. If you go to my table, so max record is 95. I would like to create one more record as 96. Some date 96,000 INR. Let me not save yet because I want to show you that there is no record yet in this. If I go to preview, do you see any record here with 96? No, right? Now let me save this record in source. As soon as I save, it will find out the trigger or insert and updates the log table, and the replication job, which is in real time, will pick that to the HANA database. Now if I go to my HANA database, now do I see a new record now? 96, so and so date, 96,000 and IN. Like this, it keeps replicating the data on in real time like this. Now I go to my table. Let's say I create one more 97. So 97,000. Just refresh. You see a new record now, 97. Let's say I want to update this 96 record with some value. Update change. Just select this 96 record. Say update change. I want to change this to 999999. Now change the existing record. Now I should see a changes in this. It says 96, 9999 has been modified. Now let's say I want to delete this record out. I never wanted this. So 96 table entry delete. Automatically the record will be deleted here also. See, do you see 96 anywhere? Like this. So since SLT creates a trigger for every delete on the table or insert or update, it can handle all the operations in real time. If you inserted a new record in the table in the source, it inserts a new record into my target. If you update an existing record, it updates. If you delete it, will delete automatically. As long as my table is in replication process. Is saying, suppose if the table has been changed, is saying if the table has been changed, then what? Then you basically have to stop the replication and replicate the table again. Okay? If the structure has been changed, you have to stop the replication and restart the replication again. Okay? Okay.
Have a, when you do SLT, the table.
Sorry, voice is very low. Voice is very low.
Yeah, can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah.
So when you replicate, the table definitions will be automatically created in HANA.
Exactly. When I replicate a table, it automatically creates a table in HANA database, which will be by default it will be a column store table.
And those can be, and those tables, whatever automatically create, that they can be used for reporting directly.
Exactly. Now we'll start creating your calculation views, analytical views on this table, Z sales table.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We've been using SAP HANA demo, right, till today. We can start using these tables for start doing your modeling. Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the source system, whenever new records comes into the source table,
Yeah.
so the trigger will be fired and that replicate to the HANA database.
Trigger will be fired and trigger will update the log in the log table. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then there will be certain set of jobs which will be running in the background automatically because you set it as real time, and those jobs will start triggering your
reading
of data from your application table or log table, then puts into HANA. So trigger will only update data in log table only. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Who will create these triggers? This automatically created by the system?
Yeah, automatically system is creating the triggers for you.
Okay, thank you.
And one more thing. For example, if you are filling this, we have BT update delta tables and everything for LV extraction. Those tables can be replicated automatically into BW system.
Which table?
If you are using.
Sorry, can you come again?
Okay. So for LV extraction, currently in BW, what we're doing, we are extracting setup tables and again by what you call delta extractions. Okay. Those delta Q tables, everything we can be replicate and those can be used for reporting.
Okay. First thing, let me make it clear. SLT can only be used to replicate tables, not data sources. Okay. And next point is, in the latest support pack, if you want, you can go with a view, database view. In ECC, let's say you have a database view, I can replicate. But data source is not supported in SLT. You can only replicate data in real time using table or at the most max view, database view. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else you need?
Yeah, sir. In the replication process, suppose we one more record added into the source table. So HANA database will read all the records which is existing as well as new record, or only record picked up from the source system? Only
the log. I'll show you the logs also. Let me show you. Let me make it clear. So now I would like to stop the replication. Now I would like to stop the replication. So I'll say. So you need to understand these now. Load, replicate, stop, suspend, and resume. Okay. Let me stop. I'll show you. I would like to stop the replication on this table. So it says replication is executed, means completed. Okay. Now let's first say load. Now when I say load load will only bring the historical data of this table and loads into your HANA database. When I say load, it is only for bringing historical data. It will replicate the table into HANA with the same structure and loads all your data from the historical data from source and loads into HANA. And it will not create any trigger, it will not create any log table, nothing. It will not capture delta records at all, only historical loading. So it says loading is executed. You will just have the table loaded with the data, nothing else. So now even if I create some new, since it says no only loading, right? Even if I create some new records in this table, it will not reflect those. For example, I say create new record, say 99. Just check whether is it reflecting. No, right? You don't have 99 yet. Why? Because it just says only loading, no replications. That's why if you go to this LTRC, it says table trigger. What it says? No trigger. Initial means what? Trigger not been activated, and no log table also. This is loading. Loading is just to bring in historical data for you. Okay. Next, again, I want to delete this table out. So I've deleted this table. Let's say now I would like to go with replication bus. So when you say replicate, what happens? Again, it recreates a table. First, so replicate will involve loading. First, it does loading of historical data. First, replicate. When you say replicate, it does do loading. It brings historical data. Then it creates the trigger and log table to capture the delta records and can process those delta records in real time. That is replication. Loading executed. So I should see the table now. So I'll start seeing the table. Now after loading is done, it will get into the status of replication bus. Why it is taking time? After loading, it has to create the trigger and the log table for you. So now it says replicating process. Now if I go to my cockpit, LTRC, monitoring cockpit, I should see the log table. I should see the trigger being activated. I can also see the coding of the trigger here. Okay. Now if I do any change, I will reflect that in the table. So I see this record. Now it is able to do the replication. Okay. So now you understood load and replicate. Now there's something called suspend bus. $1 million is like 10 million is like 1 crore. It depends on the server configuration. If it is mine, for 7 million, it has basically took me 7 minutes. Okay, my system. It's not so powerful. It's a normal server. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Now look at this. Next, I would like to go with suspend bus. Now very, very important. When it says suspend replication, what it does? When it says suspend the replication, what it does? It will still have the trigger. It will still have the log table. It will be capturing the logs, but those logs are not reflected to HANA database. When it says suspend, let's say suspend. So that I can show you entries in the log table now. I say suspend. So now it says suspended execute. It is suspended now. When I go to, even though it is suspended, if I go back and say LTRC, does it still show the log table and the trigger? It says what trigger is still there and the log table is still there. Okay. Let me open the log table. No data, right? Now let me do a change. So when you suspend the replication, what happens? It will still have the log table, it will still have the trigger available in the source, but it does not replicate them into HANA bus. It will be just collecting them one at one. Let's just save. See, I can see that in the log table now because it is not replicated, so I can see. See, for which document number? Sales document, which one? 101. 102. I'm just creating one more record. It keeps collecting that log. And what? Look at the operation. It says I. I means for this 101 record has to be inserted. Let me delete some record, existing records. Record number 5. I'm just trying to delete it. Look at the log table. What does it maintain entry? Document number 5 with operations D means what? Delete operation. Let me modify the document number 7 with only values. Just put 7. 7 and operation is U. U is update. So until these two records have to be inserted into HANA. This has to be deleted from HANA table. This has to be updated into HANA table. Okay. That's how the log table. But will it reflect those logs into HANA database here? Let's see this. Do you still see the 5? I still see 7 with the old value only, and I don't see 101, 102, nothing is being shown, right? Because we have suspended the replication. Okay. Now I can say resume it. Now when I say resume, from the point where it has stopped, it will start the applications from there now. It is so when you suspend, it is still collecting the logs, and by using those logs, it starts the replication again now. That is like resume. Okay. Now once the application is processed, you should start seeing those changes. What was actually collected in the log table? See, do I see document number 5 gone, deleted? I see document number I see this document number 7 with 7 modified. 101, 102 has been new records have been inserted. Like this, we can actually suspend and resume also. Now there is stop replication. Now when I say stop replication, it will delete the log table, it will delete the triggers, and no replication is replicated. Nothing would happen. The trigger both if I get in, see, there's no more log table, no more trigger, nothing. Everything is when I say stop the replication, it deletes the trigger, it deletes the log table, everything is gone, and you have to restart the replication again to have those triggers and log table created. So you have loaded 100 records and there have been daily continuous replications. Let's say you stopped in. You cannot continue from where it has stopped. You have to when you say replicate again it brings in the historical data and then you have to reload all the data again. There is a workaround to handle that. We'll discuss as a last point. Now, did you understand all these points about load, replicate, stop, suspend, resume this? No. You're saying if I add some new records into Z sales in HANA, will it show in ECC? No. SLT, see, SLT can only be used to push data in real time to HANA or BW. See, till now it was only HANA. Till now SLT was only using target as HANA. In the latest version, they've enabled SLT to be using even BW as a target. Means I use SLT, connect it to SAP BW and replicate real-time data into BW through SLT also. We'll see that. But it will not reflect ECC back. Okay. So this is the basics of SLT, which I would like to show the slide.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Let me run through the slides. I'll
Sir.
get a chance to ask you the doubts. Let me just run through. It says I've got two source systems and I got two HANA connections, HANA schemas. Why? Because every time I configure one system to this HANA, with the configuration it creates a schema, right? So if I have two ECC systems and say one SLT server and one HANA, I create two configurations. So with each configuration it creates one schema. You can have two different HANA systems. So I can have two source systems feeding single HANA. I can have two source systems feeding separate HANA and leveraging single SLT. So SLT will be like a middleware which can replicate it from n number of sources to n number of HANA databases. And multiple systems can refer to same schema or one system. This is important. I was telling you, you remember while creating configuration, we had a checkbox called multiple usage. The same source system can be connected to HANA database in multiple schemas here. If I'm doing that, I need to enable multiple usage and maximum 4 connections are available. And for example, I've got ECC. I'm trying to connect that ECC to HANA. Maximum I can create 4 connections for the same ECC. So okay. This is how it should look like. A SLT server should be like a middleware which can take from n number of sources, n number of HANA targets. And this is what how to configure. We've seen the LTR T code where you basically give all the details for configurations. And once it is done, you basically get into the replication data provisioning. There you can do load, replicate, stop, replication, suspend, resume. So you know about load. When I say load and replicate, this takes you to the screen. We can select the table from there. And you know about RFC connection and DB connection connecting in. You know about stop, suspend, replicate. When I say stop, the trigger and the log tables are deleted. No replication happens. When I suspend, the trigger and log table are still there. It keeps collecting the logs, but not pushing those changes to HANA. When I say resume, from the changes what it is captured, it starts pushing them into HANA. That is suspend, stop, replication. And one more option I need to show you. I'm replicating the tables from HANA database, right? Let's say I would like to replicate some table. You click replicate, you say Z sales something. You select the table and say add, right? Instead of initiating the replication process from HANA database, I can also initiate the replication process from SLT server also. Like where? Now go to how to initiate the replication, LTRC, go to LTRC T code. In the table overview, you see a button called data provisioning. Just click on this. You want to load or replicate? Let's say I want to replicate table Z sales. Underscore shell. That table. I would like to do just loading is okay, or you want replication, or you want to start. Sorry, you want to start the replication. You can see this table. You can see a number of tables. One. That Z sales underscore shell is getting replicated. It is still saying trigger is initial lock table, nothing. Keep refreshing. And now lock table is created. Now trigger it still says initial has to create trigger for this. I can also see the reflections here. So you can insert the replications or stop replication, resume all those from HANA Studio or even from SLT server also. From HANA Studio you can control the replication process, or from SLT server, LTRC T code, you can control the replication process of the tables. The spelling correct? Z sales. Hit go on. Okay. Don't worry about it. And one more thing is this. I told you, see, trigger will only collect the logs in the log table, right? But actual replication is done by the background jobs. You can see the background job. What is the job which is actually performing those loading? You go to SM37. You'll have a job called IUC star, and notice is something which is active, which will be running continuously. So IUC underscore monitor underscore 015 is actually we call that as master job, which actually takes this job will be running continuously in the system to check any logs have been filled in, and once the logs are there, this master job will start initiating other data transfer jobs to trigger the data transferring. Yeah. So this is what we call as master job. So I know we can stop the job here and stop it, but we can also stop the master job from here. If you go to LTR T code, if you go get into the configuration details, just get into this configuration. We will have a tab called jobs and connections. Here you see the master job says what running. That will be continuously, it will be running this. Okay. If you want, I can stop it from here. I can also stop it here. I can say edit. Let's not stop now because the application of this table is going on. This a table unda ledu boss. There's a mistake. Let's leave it. There is a table, okay. But if I want to stop the master job, I can do it from here. I can say edit, okay. Now actions, stop. This will stop your master job, and again I can say restart again. Okay. Is there a log table in HANA as in ECC to see the number of records and so? Yes. See here, actually you can see this here. I'll get to that later, but LTRC, if you get in, this was replicated or some, I don't know, this is not yet started, I think. Trigger not yet created. Problem with creating trigger or something, I don't know. Let it go on, but we can see the logs here, we can see the statistics here. No statistics, but we'll see. We can see the statistics, how many records were read. It actually loads data portion by portion, how many portions have gone. For each portion, how many records it has done, all those you can see here. If you want to see log table, what is log table? The changes, no, you will not have log table in HANA, you will only have data table. Log table only will be in HANA. Is there any data processing technique to load data from data source in BW? Then you have to use DXC or BODS. Okay. SLT can't load from data source. Now tell me if there's any doubts, finish it up fast. Yeah. Come on. This is a basic. Now tomorrow we'll get into transformations. Let's say you're replicating data through SLT and you want to transform the data. How do we do that? Yeah. Now tell me. Yeah.
Sir, you said that okay, whenever we add any records in SAP HANA, it won't be replicated in ACC. Till there, it's fine. But let us say, suppose I have added 5 records in HANA, then I have added a few more records in ECC and updated few records. When I replicate those records, will the records which I have added before in HANA, will it be there or not?
You lose, when you start the replication again, it will basically delete and reload the table completely.
So the records which I have added in HANA won't be there.
Yeah, yes. Generally, why will you add records in HANA? Tell me. When you are replicating, general 99.99% as a data warehousing, you do not modify your data. You always, when any modifications must be done at the source, and we have to replicate those records into data warehousing. That is the principle. It should always have one point of fact. So any changes will get done in source, and you keep replicating it. Next question. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Chapama.
Actually, do we need to have any special authorizations for creating this connection?
Yeah.
I mean, for configuring this SLT.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because when you got to create configurations, you need to have necessary authorizations to do that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because sometime back I tried doing it. I've got an error saying that no authorizations for schema. I mean, the schema name will be the same as configuration name,
Did you
right?
use,
So I've gotten some.
did you use system user
Huh?
or in HANA while creating connection? Did you use system user or which user?
Normal, no, not a system user.
You have to use normal user will not have access to this. So use system user. So you'll be able to create configuration. Yeah.
Sir?
Okay. And then when we'll be using this load button, I mean, when we know that there wouldn't be any,
Yeah.
I mean,
When I feel
current transactions or
when I
any
feel it's
new
going to be,
transactions, then
yeah. When I feel it's going to be one-time load, then you go with loading. Yeah.
okay. And then suppose there are some 100 records in a table, and then we have used load button to load all those 100 records in the table into HANA.
Yeah.
And later, say, suppose some 10 new records have been added. If we use replicate, will we be getting only those 10 records?
No, no, no. If you use normal replicate, again it deletes the data and brings all 110 again. But if you just want to bring in only 10, right? I'll show you workaround at the last slide. Okay? I'll come to that later. Okay?
Okay.
Because SAP
And then today,
is not given a direct flexibility here. We only have these 5 options,
okay.
but we can write some SQL statement and control that so that you do load, then you manually create the triggers, then it brings only the new changes. We can do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then initially in the class, when you have created the RFC connection in SM59 transaction, you have done all that, I mean, connections in ECC system or server, SAP LT
In SLT,
service.
you have to create the RFC connection and configurations, everything in SLT. In SLT, you'll create an RFC connection to remotely log into ECC. Yeah.
Okay. And then can you just show me that screen, I mean, the host name and all which you have given, I mean, the details while creating the connection in SM59 transaction?
So this is some name. This will be the host name of my ECC server, system number of my ECC server, and then login details of my ECC server. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
Real-time perspective, I mean, a
Plus,
model
plus,
will
your
not
voice is
be
very
doing
low.
all this.
Voice is low.
Hello? Now, sir?
Yeah, better. Yeah, yeah.
In a real-time perspective, a HANA modeler will not be doing all this, right?
See, in India, we can't say that this is modular job or something. But generally,
Okay.
you will not worry so much on the replications because major focus would be on modeling. Yeah. Because once
Yeah,
you
because there'll be
once you set up this and leave, there's nothing you have to do. Okay. Automatically, the data will be replicated on fly. You just have to leverage those tables and do modeling. That's it. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, in change log table, we can see the, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, in change log table, we can see the status update, delete, and insert. So, if the record is inserted or delete, we can't see in HANA. So, we need to log into ECC. Then only we can see the update, or we can see in
Even the
HANA
log table, I was able to show you logs because I have suspended
Okay.
the replication. If the replication
Okay.
is going on, the logs will be cleaned out. You will not be able to see the logs anymore.
Okay, in that case, if that record is updated also, we can't see in any system, source system or in HANA system also.
Yeah, you're least bothered about the status, right? You're only bothered about whether my data is in my ECC and HANA are in sync or not. That's it. But for you to understand how it is doing the deletion, update, inserts, I was showing you that, that there is some operation indication which maintains in the log table. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, once open a sample log table, sir.
Once open.
A log table. One sample log table.
Now we will not have any. It is log table.
Actually, I observe one thing.
Tell me.
Previously, in one log table, I observed that some records are in blue in color and some records are in gray in color. So, is there any difference? I need to.
Don't worry. The record what I selected will be in gray, but what I not selected will be in blue. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
So it is just indicating the selected record in a different color. That's it.
Sir, you told that SLT can feed the data into HANA database tables as well as the BW, right? BW means data sources or data sources only, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if you have table, if you replicate in BW, what are table structure is there that will create a data source structure same as a table in source, right?
Yeah. I'll show you one example.
Oh.
I'll show you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Are fine now? Okay. So this is the
sir, when you
yeah.
So when you extract from big data, do you use using SLT?
See the question here is, when I have the options of BODS, SLT, DXC, all this, when do I use what? That's the point you're discussing on. Your discussion goes through. See, mostly in a data warehousing, when SLT is mainly for real-time replication of data. So let's say I have some 600 reports to be delivered. May not be that all 600 reports may not require real-time data, right? There might be only a certain set of reports which make sense to have a real-time data being replicated. For only those I will leverage SLT. For rest all I would go with BODS or other provisioning techniques depending on scenario to scenario. Yeah. Hello? SLT only real-time data. SLT warden. No. Yeah. Okay. And that too it supports only, see, for us there is a lot of hype on SLT is okay, but see it supports only tables and it only makes sense when it is a real-time replication. It does not support data source, it does not support the complex logics in it. Yeah, we have limitations there. So, but okay. In some cases where the real-time replication is really important, they would like to see data on fly just like that being refreshed. In those certain small amount of cases, then SLT makes sense. Okay.
సార్ ఎవరికైనా రియల్ టైం డేటా కావాలనే ఉంటుంది కదా సార్, అంటే అప్ టు డేట్.
ఇప్పుడు కాస్ట్ సెంటర్ అకౌంటింగ్ రిపోర్టింగ్ ఉంది, నాకు మంత్లీ ఒకసారి రిపోర్ట్. కాస్ట్ సెంటర్ అకౌంటింగ్ డేటా ఐ రిఫ్రెష్ ఓన్లీ వన్స్ ఇన్ ఎ మంత్.
ఓకే ఓకే.
అంటే నేను ఇప్పుడు రియల్ టైం ఏదో రియల్ టైం ఇప్పుడు అన్నా అనుకో, నీకు రియల్ టైం అంటే రియల్ టైం ఇవ్వంట, అట్లా కాదు. నీకు ఇంత అవసరమా? నువ్వు యూజర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి నీకు రియల్ టైం కావాలా వద్దంటే రియల్ టైం కావాలంటాడు, ఎవడని అంటాడు రియల్ టైం కావాలని. బట్ ప్రతి ఒక్కరు కావాలంటాడు. అది కాదు బేసిక్ గా, డస్ ఇట్ యాడ్ ఎనీ వాల్యూ ఫర్ యూ? వాడు ఎస్ఏపి ఏం చెప్తాడు, ఈ షోస్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ రీటైల్ అండ్ సే యాజ్ సూన్ యాజ్ దేర్ ఇస్ సమ్ డౌన్ సేల్స్ ఆఫ్ సమ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ డౌన్, ఇమ్మీడియట్ గా నేను ప్రైస్ పెంచాలా, సో ఐ వాంట్ సమ్ రియల్ టైమ్ అనలిటిక్స్ అంటే అది దట్ మేక్స్ సెన్స్. సిట్టింగ్ ఇన్ సే సమ్ I'm analyzing some cost center budget and allocations. Why do I need real time?
Yeah,
If I'm
cost effective
analyzing
also.
a balance sheet report or profit and loss report, why do I need real time?
Sir,
If it needs real time, then cost will be more.
Empa?
SLT
If you need real time data, if the user is interested really required for real time data every time, that will cost more, I think.
అంతే నీ కావాలంటే ఇస్తాము కాస్ట్ సర్వర్ కెపాసిటీ కల్లా కాస్ట్ పెరుగుతుంది అంతే అప్పుడు వాడు అవుతాడు ఆటోమేటిక్ వద్దులే
sir, and one more thing, you told that, hello, SLT can replicate data in database view also, right? You told this.
Yeah, view is also possible. Yes.
So, I mean, in ECC we have other views also there. So those views are not replicated.
No, only database view.
4 views are there: projected view, help view,
only
and
database view is supported. That too in the latest support pack only. Latest support pack of asset. Now old one it was still not supporting. Only the latest P5 it is supporting this. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and one more question, sir. And the replication is possible for cluster tables and as well as pool tables also, right? Not data.
No.
Only.
Even to say the basic table and all those can be replicated. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Any tables we can replicate, right, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, I have one scenario, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, suppose my master job is scheduled for every 5 minutes, and my logging tables have the data, logging data. And while my logging table has the logging data, all the data is available in logging tables. And the moment that master job, there was some power failure or some system crash or something happened. So my point is, how can we make sure my data is successfully loaded into HANA? How do I know? And my second point is there any? I don't know whether we call it as data persistency. Some concept like data restoration from logging tables. Such concept is there in SLT.
So actually they asked this question. Only thing is what they do is, if you have lost the changes in the log table, you will not have those changes brought into HANA. So there will be a difference in the data in your table source and your HANA table. There will be data inconsistency. Okay. One option as a workaround, what they do is, if you have any, you'll have something called change tables, like you'll have something called CDM pass. One second. There will be some tables which will give you VDHDR, I think.
VDHDR, CD POS is item level.
Yeah, CDHDR will give item level changes, and you have a CD pass which will give item level changes. So from this you can identify what documents have been modified during this particular date range. Okay. So one option is, for those documents you again go back to the table, perform some small change and here and there back, and then have those log table updated. That is one option. One option is, if there's lots of data like this, only other option is stop the replication of this job of the table and re-replicate the table again. That's the option. Okay. 2 options you can think on. Okay, Raghu?
Sir.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Sir, can I ask some other questions? Sir, I just attended the interview. Most of the questions are covered, whatever you said. Almost only few I couldn't able to answer. Some 4 or 5. So when do you get a short dump? When you run the calculation view, you get a memory out of dump. Whoa. What you need to do when you run a calculation view?
See, memory out of dump. See, basically the
when you run
is really huge. That might be the problem. That's what you mean?
Yeah, he was saying, I told him that we can do priority and do memory cleanups and like that. He was saying, no, when you create a calculation view, when you run it, it gives you a memory dump out of memory. Only that calculation
Not
view. Yes,
necessarily.
I said.
See, it depends on the data volume, but so what is that we will do is, we'll say, we will try applying filters at the bottom level. We will not try applying at the variables. You should always try reducing the data volume. Just consider only the data what is required for joining.
Yeah, got it.
And use a lot of projections and modularize, so that if you look at calculation engine instantiation process, it will execute the selection for each node by node.
Yeah.
And even leveraging, you remember I told you one more option, execute in SQL engine.
Yes.
There are a lot of join operations in the calculation view. We will prefer using the option of execute in SQL engine, so that it formats one select statement with all the joins and understand the joint precedence and improves your performance again, right?
Yeah, I told this one, you were saying something else. I covered all these things. That the filter I forgot. Yeah, that's fine.
Filter
and
is
one
a major
more
thing, because we should apply filter as bottom as possible. That's important.
Yeah. So other thing, when do you use this star schema in the calculation view? What is the purpose of using that star schema join in calculation view?
See,
star join.
Yeah. For example, let's say I created a calculation view of data category dimension, okay? And I created hierarchy in it. Now, when I use this calculation view of data category dimension as a normal source object into another calculation view, those hierarchies will not come in. Only when I use that into star join, I will be able to leverage those hierarchies into my calculation view. And if I only in the star join, I can leverage referential joins, and as well as your temporal joins are possible only in star join only. Yeah.
Okay. And, one more thing. Input. Hello.
Also, when you want data from two different, schemas, like key figures values from two different schemas, right?
No, that could be normal, right? He was asking explicitly when will I use star join. So only when you use star join, you have flexible of using the referential join and temporal join. That is one. And one more is, let's say I have a calculation data category dimension, okay? If that has got hierarchies, those hierarchies will come into this calculation view again only when I use that in the star join. Otherwise, I'll have to recreate those hierarchies. So the three options you can think on. Yeah.
How do you pass two values per input parameter? We have we need to create two input parameters, right? Or range we can give like to and from between.
So one is range and one is I showed you this one with comma and then use multiple parameters.
No, I said multiple input parameters. He's saying with one parameter I need to pass two values.
With one parameter he wants to pass two values.
Yeah.
Not possible అని చెప్పాలని ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాడు ఆన్సర్ అంతే.
Not possible.
Yeah. There's no option here. If you say create new input parameter, there's never multiple entries ఉంది. Here, no? Multiple entries.
Multiple entries. Okay. Yeah.
For calculation, we have this multiple entries. Okay.
So real time lo usually database size ఎంత ఉంటుందంటే approximately ఎంత ఉంటుంది సార్ జస్ట్
ఈ హానాలోనప్ప
హానాలో
ఇప్పుడు నేను భారీ చూసిన డేటాబేస్లే 3 TB 4 TB. ఇప్పుడు BMW భారీ ఇంకా వాడు అసలు ఏదంటే అది పెడతాడు వేర్ హౌస్ లో వంతే 2.5 TB.
కానీ ఒక్క టేబుల్లోనే మనం 2 TB స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు అన్నాం కదా మనము.
అవును, అంటే అట్లా చెప్పి అంత డేటా ఒకటి టేబుల్కి ఏం కదా, వేరే వేరే స్ట్రక్చర్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా.
ఓకే.
వెళ్ళొచ్చు, మ్యాక్స్ వెళ్ళొచ్చు. నేను చూసిండేది, నువ్వు నన్ను అడిగావు కదా ఎంత ఉండదు.
రియల్ టైమ్ అంతని
నేను చూసింది అది ఇంకా యూజ్ ఉంటుంది, 5 TB 6 TB ఉంటుంది ఇంకా.
సో మాక్సిమం మీరు చెప్పిన అన్ని విండో ఫంక్షన్స్ అన్ని కవర్ చేశాడండి, ఆఫ్సెట్ లిమిట్ అన్ని.
అది ఇంట్రో చేసాడు ఇండియనా లేదా అటుపక్క
ఇండియన్ అండి.
ఓకే మేము ముందు మ్యాచ్ ఉంటాడేమో.
అదే అనుకున్నాను. రాజేష్ అండి.
ఓకే అప్ప, రైట్. ఓకే బాస్, విల్ మీట్ టుమారో.